Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing Episode 38, Electric Soldier Porygon. Probably the most notorious banned episode, due to being the one that caused seizures for many kids across Japan, to the point where it never aired in the West. The episode begins with Ash and the gang currently resting in Matcha City, fueling up on food and water, with Misty trying to get her Psyduck to take a drink. Their initial reason for stopping was due to Ash's Pikachu being overly tired, which was causing Ash to worry, so he wanted to take it to the Pokemon Center. So, that's what they do, going to the Pokemon Center in the city. When they enter, they immediately see Nurse Joy, and she's not behind the counter as usual, she's talking to a scientist. Dr. Akihabara, the inventor of the Pokemon transport system that Pokemon centers use to transport Pokemon between centers. Nurse Joy explains to Ash and the gang how the scientist was there trying to figure out what was wrong with his invention, as whenever Nurse Joy would attempt to send over a Pokemon to the Pokemon Center in Viridian City, a different Pokemon would take its place. As Dr. Akihabara examines his machine, looking into the code to see what could be going wrong, Brock suggests that there could be a virus causing a malfunction. Brock mentioning the word virus confuses Ash, who thinks that means that the computer is fucking sick, like having the flu or something. Like, come on, Ash. I know we're in 1998 here when this episode came out, but have people really not heard of a computer virus? Brock ignores Ash and continues his explanation of a virus, explaining that there was something called an antivirus that would kill the virus. The scientist rebuttals that it's impossible for there to be a virus, as he specifically designed it so that there would be none. But once again, we're in 1998 era times here, and we can't even do that now. We can't even make shit that is entirely virus-proof. So this dude must be a fucking genius. Or, more likely, he's full of shit, as he immediately gets up from his chair, realizing something as he panics. This implies that there probably was a virus in the computer after all, and he just thought that he was smart enough to be able to create a remedy for it. Ash and the gang are curious where the scientist ran off to, with Brock probably wanting to prove his virus theory, so they ask Nurse Joy for directions to the scientist's house, which she somehow has. I mean, just because they work together doesn't mean that she should have directions to his house. But anyways, Ash and the gang then arrive there, and are immediately greeted by a huge robot hologram of the scientist, which was definitely developed by him. Ash and the gang are startled, as anyone would be if they saw that thing, and the hologram uses that to his advantage, instructing them to follow him as he takes them into a room with a huge tube. The hologram then further instructs them to go inside the tube, which they do, still frightened and under pressure. The hologram then locks them in the chamber, but clarifies that he was not evil, clarifying that he simply needed Ash and the gang for his plan, so he had to try and scare them so that they would willingly go into the chamber, which he explains is a human transporter instead of a Pokemon transporter. With the hologram having done its job, it then disappears as a video feed of the real Akihabara appears instead. Ash then questioned Akihabara on what his plan was and why it involved a human transporting machine and Ash and the gang, with the scientist elaborating that what he had spotted at the Pokemon Center that made him rush back was Team Rocket, who had created a virus to stop the Pokeballs from being transported. He had been able to physically create a virus due to being inside the system itself, after being transported there by the scientist. Ash rightfully questions why the scientist would put Team Rocket into the system itself, with the scientist revealing that Team Rocket had come into his lab the night before to try and steal his Porygon, being a man-made Pokemon that he had created. And so, the scientist felt the need to trap Team Rocket inside of his system, which they couldn't escape from. Ash then further questions why him and his friends were needed for the plan, when an antivirus could be used instead, like Brock suggested. But the scientist explains that he can't use an antivirus, as it would end up killing Team Rocket since they were in their virus form, and that's what an antivirus does. It kills viruses. And he didn't want to go that far. I think he should, though. I mean, then we wouldn't have to deal with Team Rocket shenanigans anymore. He finally clarifies that Ash and his friends were needed for his plan, as he was going to send them in like he did Team Rocket, so that they could battle and defeat Team Rocket. Ash and the gang obviously refused the offer, not wanting to put their lives in danger. I mean, Team Rocket was stuck in there. Who says that they couldn't get stuck in there either, right? But the scientist doesn't listen to their pleas and sends them in anyway. Once they arrive in the system, they're instantly falling, and it looks like they're going to fall to their death, but they are caught by the Porygon, who is currently inside the system. This Porygon was also sent in at the same time as Ash and the gang, indicating that the scientist had created a second copy. I guess that explains how Porygon 2 ends up getting made. But anyways, the gang then ride on Porygon and manage to locate the virus that Team Rocket set up, which is a blockade that's blocking Pokeballs. Team Rocket are celebrating the fact that they've managed to set it up without anyone interrupting them, as all their plans usually get interrupted, but Meowth comes in and warns them to be cautious, as they can never seem to win for long. Meowth was right to be concerned, as Ash and the gang show up, ready to put a stop to Team Rocket's evil doings. So, Team Rocket sends out Arbok and Weezing, and has Weezing use poison gas to make them cough in an attempt to knock them out, but the Porygon is unaffected by the smoke, likely due to it being a metallic creation, as well as using conversion to make itself look like a Weezing. This probably meant that it inherited Weezing's ability to breathe its own gas, so it was able to not be affected by the gas. Anyways, this allows the Porygon to strike Arbok and Weezing, knocking them out, and sending them flying into Team Rocket. Team Rocket aren't done yet though, as they send out their own Porygon, one that they stole from earlier, and have it transform into a being with a sword-like beak. This causes Ash and the gang's Porygon to transform into a shield, thereby creating Pokemon Sword and Shield like 20 years early. Let's go. Now, despite Ash and the gang's Porygon being the newer and more advanced one, it still is only able to go neck and neck with Team Rocket's, so the battle lasts a lot longer. This actually works out, though, as it provides a distraction, so that Ash and the gang can remove Team Rocket's virus that they put up. After being instructed by the scientist, Team Rocket then notice Ash and the gang trying to do this, so they get up and run over to try and stop them, but Pikachu just shocks them with his Thunderbolt, causing them to slow down and trip and fall over all the Pokeballs that are now rolling everywhere due to Ash and the gang removing the barrier that was blocking them, meaning that they were starting their way back to the Pokemon Center. To make matters worse for Team Rocket, not only were they knocked out by Pikachu's Thunderbolt and the Pokeballs, but then their Porygon ends up losing the battle against Ash and the gangs, and Porygon comes flying straight into them, sending them blasting off further into the system, causing Ash and the gang to celebrate. They had done it, Team Rocket was defeated, and now all the Pokeballs could be sent back to the Pokemon Center. But the scientist then panics as he realizes something, informing Ash and the gang that Nurse Joy had hired a technician to install the antivirus like Rocket suggested. He knew this because Nurse Joy had phoned him to offer him a progress update. Ash and the gang were still removing the last of the barriers when the doctor gave them this warning, which immediately caused them to lose focus and start panicking, especially when they realized that the antivirus could kill them since they were in their virus form right now. As if on cue, the virus arrives in the shape of an ambulance, as it's supposed to be a healer, right? It's supposed to be a good thing, but it's not, as it targets Ash, Misty, and Brock. The Porygon thankfully comes down and manages to pick them up before the virus can hit them, though, and begins to take them to safety. Meanwhile, Team Rocket are trying to return to where they left the barriers originally so that they can go and set them back up, but then they encounter Ash and the gang going the other direction and taunt them for running away when they decline their battle challenge. Ash defends that as much as he'd like to kick Team Rocket's ass, the virus was a more pressing matter, and it was literally on its way to kill them as they spoke, warning Jesse and James that they should be running as well. But honestly, he shouldn't warn them. He should just let the virus come for them, you know? They deserve it. But anyways, the virus does at least do the one good thing it was supposed to, and destroys the remainder of Team Rocket's barriers. But then, it still continues, as expected, wanting to destroy Team Rocket themselves, since they count as a virus. As the antivirus proceeds to lock on to Team Rocket, Meowth thankfully picks up Jesse and James, and they ride away in their Porygon, also rescuing them from all the rolling Pokeballs that were now free from the barrier and on their way back to the Pokemon Center. Because Meowth picked up Team Rocket, though, doesn't mean they're safe, as the antivirus still fires missiles at not only Team Rocket's Porygon, but Ash and the gangs as well, as, once again, they are also in a virus form, so it's desperate to take out any virus. The missiles, unfortunately, hit Ash's Porygon and miss Team Rocket's, which sends Ash and the gang plummeting downwards, but thankfully, the Porygon manages to catch them before they fall to their death. This isn't the only good thing that happens, though, as the scientist then notices the exit of the system up ahead, indicating that Ash and the gang were almost there and could get free if they used it. Meanwhile, the technician at the Pokemon Center decides to send in an even bigger attack, noticing that the first one didn't successfully take out any virus, which causes the antivirus to transform into a huge syringe-like thing and take aim at Team Rocket, who were currently following Ash and the gang on their Porygon as they were trying to find the portal for the way out. They aren't able to successfully dodge the missile this time, though, as it hits them and sends them downwards, straight into a glitchy cyberspace bug hole, which had been created in the system due to the technician overloading it with how hard he was going with the antivirus measures. Nurse Joy then orders the technician not to use that attack that he just did again, not wanting to destroy the professor's system entirely. Team Rocket then awaken in the glitchy bug hole, with Meowth stating that the only way it seems they could escape is if they had Porygon, leading Jesse to question where Porygon had ended up after all. Team Rocket then spot their Porygon absolutely knocked out, having lost so much energy that it was reverting back to its normal size that it was outside of the system. And Jesse looks on in shame, realizing there really was no way to escape, as the antivirus locates them inside the bug hole, targeting them once again. Despite Ash and the gang being close to reaching the portal, they decide to go back for Team Rocket, not wanting them to die. Now, I guess I kind of understand this, as the entire reason why they were sent into the system in the first place was because the professor didn't want to have to kill Team Rocket, so I bet you Ash was just like, you know what, we came here to save them, we might as well try our best to actually make sure that this virus doesn't kill them. And so, in Deus Ex Machina fashion, as the antivirus launches its missiles at Team Rocket, Ash and the gang swoop in with Ash's Bulbasaur, who deploys its Vine Whip to save Team Rocket and pull them up onto the Porygon at the last second, much to Team Rocket's happiness. The Doctor then informs Ash and the gang that Porygon had almost reached the exit portal, but unfortunately, Team Rocket, hanging on by the vines, is providing too much extra weight on the Porygon, so it slows it down, and it can't move fast enough to reach the portal before being targeted by 4 missiles yet again. 2 of the missiles are farther up ahead, and Pikachu knows that Porygon won't be able to escape them, so he takes action, using Thunderbolt to destroy those 2 missiles. With the 2 closest missiles destroyed, it thankfully gives Porygon enough time to escape through the portal back into the real world, but the other 2 missiles then catch up, coming through the portal as well. Since the portal leads back to the Doctor's house, when the missiles come through, they instantly destroy the house, causing a huge batch of wreckage everywhere, much to Ash and the gang's dismay, and the Doctor's, who looks on in shame at his destroyed house, depressed that he could no longer enter the system's world, and that all of his inventions and research that he had done on it were now destroyed and had been for nothing. Ash tries to cheer him up by at least returning his Porygon to him, but that does nothing. Ash, believing that Porygon's safety was all that matters, doesn't hesitate to poke a little fun at the doctor, stating how his system really crashed this time. Wow, what a fucking awesome joke. Team Rocket, simply grateful to be back in the real world and not dead, thank Ash and the gang for saving them, and decide to quit with their plan to steal Porygon, simply running off. This obviously shocks Ash and the gang. Team Rocket passed up the chance to steal a Pokemon? Whoa, no way. Unfortunately, it's not like this change of heart's permanent, though. They'll be back to their shit in the next episode. Anyways, with Team Rocket dealt with, Ash and the gang then continue on their journey, going back to the Pokemon Center to check up on how the Pokeballs were doing. Nurse Joy happily explains that the system was fixed and the transporting was now successful, but she believes it was entirely due to the antivirus, not the help of Ash and the gang whatsoever. Ash and the gang are fine with this, though, as Nurse Joy probably wouldn't believe them if they told them the truth anyway, and also if they did tell them the truth, it would probably result in the doctor getting sued for child endangerment, and with his house being destroyed, he definitely doesn't have the money to pay for that now. Ash and the gang then just decide to change the subject to why they originally showed up to the Pokemon Center in the first place, which was that Pikachu was tired. So, Ash instructs Nurse Joy to heal up Pikachu, who was now even more tired than he was in the beginning after that electric attack at the end.